Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Siti Kamaliah binti Mansor. I am glad to be part of this company's account executive board. Previously, I worked for Petronas as their senior account manager for 5 years, and I'll be glad to use my knowledge and past experience for the success of this company. I am looking forward to work with all of you. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurhidayah binti Hayat and I am one of the junior account executive for Pos Malaysia Berhad. Before this, I worked as a financial analyst at Toyota company for 4 years. I'm glad to be part of this company now and I hope that I can apply my previous experience for this organization's success.
Hi and Assalamualaikum everyone. Greetings to all. My name is Iffah Atirah binti Imran Gulcharan and I am the Junior Account Executive for Pos Malaysia Berhad. Upon having this title, I have earned a 6 years experience in an accounting firm called PwC, also known as PricewaterhouseCoopers. I was the junior in an auditor team for the PwC. Nevertheless, I am delighted to be able to use and apply my knowledge, skills, as well as my experience in helping and bringing this team as well as the company in making a better decision and improve its performances.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. The name is Aliya Hanis binti Husein and I am the account executive for Pos Malaysia Berhad. Previously, I have held the same position in Maybank for 3 years. So today, I will gladly share all my knowledge for Pos Malaysia Berhad. So stay tuned.
Before we begin, let us firstly look at the Pos Malaysia Berhad's company background. The Pos Malaysia Group is a dynamic postal, logistics, aviation, financial and supply chain solutions provider with the largest delivery and touchpoint network in Malaysia, offering an extensive retail network experience through its core business segments. This company was established in 1926 and based in Kuala Lumpur. Pos Malaysia Berhad is one of the GLC or government-linked companies in our country and it is also listed on Bursa Malaysia under the main market. Pos Malaysia Berhad has set its vision on connecting Malaysia and beyond for today and tomorrow. The company's mission is to build and deliver the network of choice. Pos Malaysia Berhad owns 11 subsidiary companies in total, and among the most well-known ones are Pos Laju Sdn Berhad, Pejabat Pos Sdn Berhad and also Pos Aviation Sdn Berhad. In the efforts for Pos Malaysia Berhad to stay informed and updated with the international postal development, Pos Malaysia is affiliated and participates in the Universal Postal Union, Conference of Commonwealth Postal Administrations, Asian Pacific Postal Union and also ASEAN Postal Business Meeting.
What is segmental reporting? Segmental reporting is the reporting of our operational segments of a company in the disclosure of accompanying its financial statements. Moving on to the next part of our presentation, factors to be considered in doing financial report operating segments. The main factor in considering is the nature of business activity. Is the activity carried out by an entity with the main objective of earning profit as well as maximizing shareholders' wealth. Under this nature of business activity, there are 4 components that are very important. First, nature of product and services. In the case of Pos Malaysia Berhad, their nature of business is actually providing services. Pos Malaysia Berhad in a gist is a very well known for its services of postal, which includes basic mails, courier, as well as parcel. Second is nature of production process. Pos Malaysia Berhad provides ample of ways for the consumer to receive their services. Customers are just a stone thrown away from Pos Malaysia services as they provide direct entry like retail stores, drive-through, postal boxes, postal machines, and many more. Third is type of class of customer for the services. Pos Malaysia Berhad has a diversified range of customers. Basically, they provide the services to all individuals, both local and international, as well as to all companies in Malaysia, especially SMEs. Last but not least is the distributional method. Pos Malaysia services are being distributed through various types of transportation, which includes ships, lorries, bikes, flights, and even cars to ensure that items are being delivered safely and on time. So, type of operating segments. There are 2 types of operating segments and Pos Malaysia Berhad applies to both types of operating segments. First is business segment. Pos Malaysia Berhad has 3 reportable operating segments that can be distinguished from one another and provide revenue to the company. These 3 reportable operating segments include postal, aviation, as well as logistics. There's also called other segment, which is a non-reportable segment that did not achieve the criteria of reportable segment, which is the 10% rule. Besides that, its geographical segment, Pos Malaysia Berhad provides its services both locally as well as globally. In addition, our clients include the regional e-commerce player delivered into Malaysia as well as a few destinations across the globe. However, the overseas segment like Thailand does not contribute to more than 10% of the consolidated revenue and assets. Hence, information about the geographical segment is not presented.
So now, I will be explaining on the responsibility of a chief operating decision maker of this company, which is in this case is held by Mr. Saidman Najib bin Saidman Nur. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Pos Malaysia Berhad. Without further ado, let's go. First of all, he is accountable to the board for the authorities that are delegated to him and also for the performance of the group. This is because the GCEO is responsible in ensuring that all the products and services provided by the company can be maintained so that they can achieve and maintain a satisfactory performance of the industry. Next, he is also held accountable for the overall organization, management and staffing of the group, and for its procedures in operational and financial matters, including in the areas of staff conduct, discipline, and to promote leadership by example. The GCEO is also responsible for developing and recommending to the board a long-term strategy and vision for the group that leads to the creation of the shareholder value. And he needs to ensure that the objectives and goals set out in the strategic plans are achieved. The GCEO's responsibility includes fostering a corporate culture that promotes ethical values, encourages individuals' integrity, and fulfills the group's social responsibility. As GCEO, he leads the company in maintaining a positive and also ethical work environment. And last but not least, the most important one is to review the internal management reports at least on a quarterly basis so that they can make decisions about resources to be allocated to the segments, assess its performance, and for which discrete financial information is available.
Thank you, Ms. Aliya, for your previous explanation. Now, we will move to the next part of segmental reporting, which is to reproduce a segmental report of Pos Malaysia Berhad. Before that, we need to identify first the reportable segment and non-reportable segment. Operating segments are only identified as reportable segments and separately disclosed if they meet the quantitative threshold test, which are 10% threshold test and 75% rule. The 10% threshold test is the test that the percentage must be 10% or more to be considered as reportable and separately disclosed. It consists of 3 quantitative thresholds: revenue basis, profit or loss basis, and asset basis. Revenue basis is where total reported revenue is 10% or more of the common revenue of all operating segments. Profit or loss basis is where reported profit or loss is 10% or more than the combined profit or loss of all profitable operating segments. The last basis, which is asset basis, is where its assets are 10% or more of the combined assets of all operating segments. Meanwhile, if the operating segment does not meet the 10% threshold, which means less than 10%, it is to be classified as non-reportable segments and to be combined and disclosed under all other segments category. However, it may be considered as reportable segments and separately disclosed if management believes that the information of these segments are useful to the user of financial statement. As for Pos Malaysia Berhad, we are using revenue basis to measure the operating segment. The operating segments of this company consist of postal, aviation, logistics, and other segments. After we applied the 10% test, we can identify that there are only 2 operating segments that meet the requirement of more than 10%, which are postal and logistics segment with 73% and 12% respectively. Therefore, they are considered as reportable and to be disclosed separately in the segmental report. However, aviation and other segment did not meet the 10% requirement as it is less than 10%. Therefore, they will be combined together and disclosed under all other segment category in the segmental report. After determining the reportable segments and non-reportable segments, the entity must conduct a 75% total revenue requirement. This task requires at least 75% of the total revenue of the entity to be accounted for by the combined external revenues of identified reportable operating segments. However, if the reportable segments are less than 75%, additional segments must be reported until the threshold is reached. The 75% tax of Pos Malaysia Berhad is calculated by adding the external revenue of postal and logistics, then divided with the total external revenue of all operating segments. As a result, we get 88%, which is more than 75%. Therefore, no additional segment to be reported. In order to have at least 4 reportable segments and 1 non-reportable segment, a new adjustment has been made. There is an additional of retail business segment and international business segment as a new operating segment. So, 10% threshold tax is to be applied again, and after the adjustment, now we have 4 reportable segments, which are postal, logistics, retail business, and international business segment, and 2 non-reportable segments, which are aviation and others. 75% tax requirement has also been met, therefore, no additional segment to be reported. Finally, a new segmental report of Pos Malaysia Berhad is to be produced. As we can see in the report, postal, logistics, retail business, and international business are separately disclosed as they are reportable segments. Meanwhile, aviation and others are combined as one under all other segment category as it fails to meet the 10% threshold tax requirement.
In conclusion, segmental reporting is the information that an entity should disclose to assist users of financial statements to make their judgment on the entity, like shareholders or other investors. The advantages of having operational segments include: first, separation of profitable segments. Separation of profitable segments helps the company in revealing and access which segments that actually profit them and also which are not making any much profit to the company. Second, shareholders able to gain the overview of the firm's operation. From this, shareholder will be aware of the performance of the company since the segmental report provides very much detail on the operational of the company. From that, it's easier for them to monitor the progress of the company and know about the business process that is operated by a company and know their background as a whole. Besides that, revenue can be clearly identified. The revenue can be clearly seen through each segment, and with this, it will help investors to know which is better than the other and which segment to be invested and bring them profit. Furthermore, operational segments will help transparency and better insight. This is because operational segment is written in details in such that it will help investors or shareholders to evaluate and monitor the performance of the management. Whereas the disadvantages of operational segments are as follows. First is opportunity to the competitors. This is where when operational segment is written, it is written in detail. So when this happens, the competitors can pick on how the company operates and its profit margin. A company could also lose competitive advantage by offering up details on what segment that make most money and what segment that actually make them losses. Second is the chances of losses. When it's published to the public, they need to be ready with the amount of risk that they will face and have to prepare and overcome in a shorter period. Last but not least is misuse of authority and data manipulation. When the operational segment is being prepared, the data is used in the operational segment is being authorized by the managers, as the data can be easily manipulated to show a good performance instead of reflecting the true nature of the company.
An interim report is a financial report covering a period of less than 1 year, and it is usually used to provide an overview of the company's financial performance before the end of the financial reporting cycle. Now, let us look at the basis of preparation of interim report for Pos Malaysia Berhad. This company's interim financial statements are unaudited and have been prepared in accordance with FAR570 Interim Financial Reporting and paragraph 9.22 of the listing requirements of Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad, and it should be read in conjunction with the audited financial statements of the group for the financial period ended 31st December 2019 and the accompanying notes attached to the unaudited, condensed, consolidated financial statements. Next, there are mainly two views or methods that an interim report can be produced, which are the integral method and also the discrete method. Under the integral method, interim period is considered to be an integral part of the annual accounting period. Accruals and expenses across all periods must be spread even when you incur these events in some periods and not in others. However, Pos Malaysia Berhad adopts the second method, which is the discrete method. This method treats interim accounting periods in the same manner as annual periods, and as such, it is not associated with expenses that may arise during other interim periods of the reporting year. Next, we'll discuss on two accounting policies used in preparing the interim report. The first policy is under MFRS 16, leases. Under MFRS 16, a lease is defined as a contract or part of a contract that conveys the right to use an identifiable asset over a period of time in exchange for consideration. The right to use is basically interpreted as the lessee's right to the economic benefits derived from. Lease assets are initially recognized at cost, similar to other non-financial assets, which also includes direct costs and restoration costs. Subsequent measurements would need to take into account the asset's depreciating values, other costs, or any impairment adjustments. The second policy used is under MFRS 116, property, plant and equipment. Under this policy, property, plant and equipment are defined as tangible assets that are held by an entity for use in the production of goods and services, for rental to others, or for administrative purposes, and are expected to be used during more than one reporting period. PPE items shall be recognized as an asset when it is probable that future economic benefits associated with the item will flow to the entity and the cost of the item can be reliably measured. For the measurement at recognition, items of PPE are measured initially at cost, regardless of whether they are purchased, exchanged, or constructed. As for the subsequent expenditure, the cost shall be capitalized when it meets the asset recognition criteria and shall be expensed or written off if proven otherwise. The type of interim reports are quarterly reports, which means that the company produces an interim report every 3 months. The statements that are required to be produced are condensed consolidated statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, condensed consolidated statement of financial position, condensed consolidated statement of changes in equity, and also condensed consolidated statement of cash flows.
Next, we will be discussing on the period for the current interim and also the comparative for each statement for this company. So for the statement of financial position, since we are using the second quarter for this company, the current interim period is 3 months, which starts from the 1st April 2020 until 30th June 2020. Meanwhile, the comparative reporting period is 12 months, starting from 1st January 2019 until 31st December 2019. For the statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, the current interim reporting period is also 3 months, which starts from 1st April 2020 until 30th June 2020. The cumulative year-to-date reporting period is 6 months, starting from 1st January 2020 until 30th June 2020. Meanwhile, the statement of changes in equity and the statement of cash flow has the same cumulative year-to-date reporting period, which is 6 months, starting from 1st January 2020 until 30th June 2020. But wait, you must be wondering, where is the period for the comparative? Actually, there is no comparative for the quarter period ended 30th June 2020. This is due to the change in the financial period year-end from 31st March until 31st December, as stated in Note 2, the unaudited condensed consolidated statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income for the current quarter ended 30th June 2020, being the second quarter of the financial year ending 31st December 2020, is not comparable with any comparative period previously recorded. Therefore, the unaudited condensed consolidated statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income should be read in conjunction with the annual financial report for the financial period ending 31st December 2019 and the explanatory notes attached to the interim financial report. Now, I will pass to Ms. Daya to explain more.
For the last part of interim reporting, we need to propose any 2 adjustments to be included in the interim report. The first adjustment to be made is related to MFRS 102 inventories. As at 30 June 2020, inventories are measured at cost of 9.027 million ringgit and the net realizable value is 8.8 million ringgit. According to MFRS 102, inventories are measured at the lower of cost and net realizable value. NRV of 8.8 million ringgit is lower. Therefore, the value of inventories is to be adjusted and written down to its NRV in the second quarter of Statement of Financial Position. Loss of inventory of 0.227 million ringgit should be recognized in Statement of Profit or Loss and Other Comprehensive Income. The second adjustment is regarding trade and other payables. On 1st June 2020, Pos Malaysia Berhad has made a payment of 0.45 million ringgit by cheque to one of their creditors. The transaction occurred during the second quarter of year-end 2020. Therefore, the amount is to be adjusted by deducting from cash and bank balances and also trade and other payables in the second quarter of Statement of Financial Position. Let's see the effect before and after adjustment in the Statement of Financial Position of Pos Malaysia Berhad. The amount of inventories at current interim period column has decreasing from 9.027 million ringgit to 8.8 million ringgit due to the first adjustment. Meanwhile, the amount at comparative period column remained the same. Same goes to the cash and bank balances and trade and other payables amount at current interim period column. It is decreasing due to the second adjustment, while the amount at comparative period column remained constant. With that, we have come to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much and Assalamualaikum.